What's up, everybody? I'm George Mossey. Please say hello to my co-host Heather C. We are here on episode 9 of the Pop Culture Podcast. I don't know if you've opened your phone lately, but things have been going crazy, and we're not talking inflation. We're not talking about the election. We're just talking about life in general. It's been crazy. There's a lot of things going on with Diddy and the music industry, and a lot of people are speaking out. And a lot of new music has come out. Gypsy Rose news is back. So we're going to try to fit a lot of this into this episode. We probably won't be able to, but there's just a lot that we got to cover on episode 9. So we're jumping right in. No more wasting time. So I want to start off in the music category because I do know that Ariana Grande put out a project recently because you told me, you brought it to my attention. She put out a new project and I heard it. And I think I told you specifically, it sounded a lot different. It didn't sound like what I expected from her. So I wanted to get your opinion on that project because let's be real, it's not getting as much play as Ariana did before with her previous project. So I want to get your opinion on this new music, the new sound, and it's kind of, in my opinion, adult contemporary. And this is not what we're used to from her. So I want to get your opinion on how you feel about this project.
I love Ariana Grande. She's like my favorite. I'm a bit biased, but I mean, she has had, I should say, some songs in the past that I was like, not the best, but I still loved them. But this album I really liked. I've actually listened to it nonstop on repeat because every time I listen to somebody's new album, I like to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll listen to the whole album straight through without skipping any tracks. Because, I want to say, okay, I gave them a fair advantage. I listened to it, and I'm either going to be like, okay, next time I listen to it, I don't know if I like this one or not. This might be my favorite track. But literally every song on her album is really, really good. And it still does have Ariana's vibe. It's just kind of like all of her albums that she ever had, kind of like in a blender.
But you do admit it sounds different. Like it doesn't sound like her side to side single with Nicki Minaj. It sounds different, right?
Yeah, and I think it's because she's maturing as a woman. I mean, when she came out, she was in her teens, and I mean, now she's in her 30s. So it's only right that she's going to mentally mature and step into the next chapter of her life. I mean, she was a married woman at one point, and it's like she went
very short time. Very short time.
Yeah, and she went through a lot of heartbreak, and I don't think she was ever mentally over Mac Miller. I really honestly believe he was meant to be her soulmate. And I think that it was just a bad time because he was so caught up with his, drug use that she was forced to kind of like let him go. But I think if the tables were turned in a different situation, I think that they would have stayed together because I honestly believe out of all the relationships she's ever had publicly, he has always been the one. To this day, when he passed, she has his dog. Like, she's raising his dog. Yes. I mean, she loves him. And I know she was really, really hurt because he was with her when she did that show, Manchester Attacks. And he was with her then when she went through like a lot of major PTSD and all that. Yeah. So, but as far as her music goes, I think this is like her heartbreak album. I think this is her way to heal from her relationship with her ex-husband and just kind of like letting it go because people actually speculated in the beginning that her song We Can't Be Friends was about her ex-husband, but then a lot of the conspiracy people came through and said if you actually pay attention to the clues in the video, it might actually be about Mac Miller. So yeah, because like there's like little things in the video. Apparently the video was mirrored after a movie. And I guess that was one of the movies that she watched with him. Like they really liked the movie. And like there's a teddy bear that's like a placement in there. And I guess he gave her like this little teddy bear. So there's like, and at the end, like she tries to like erase him for the memory. And then she's on a couch and she's left with a dog. And the dog is all she had left from Mac Miller. So I was like, the way they broke it down really was like interesting. But I love her album. I think it's worth a listen. If anybody has Spotify or Apple Music, or even if they're not sure if they want to take the chance on buying it, go on YouTube. I'm sure they have her album on there, and just give it a listen. It's definitely worth it. She has a lot of good tracks, and not really anything sounds like her single that she came out with. That one was just kind of like random, so it's good.
Well, yeah, I noticed that too. And the first thing I noticed was when the project came out, I didn't hear it as heavy. You know, like when Olivia Rodrigo's music comes out, we hear a very heavy play. We hear a lot of Taylor Swift, Dua Lipa, you know, and I thought it was really interesting that she wasn't getting that play on the radio. And that kind of made me a little worried. I was like, well, what's going on with her?
She is. It's hard because, like, you know, we're in a different state, and the radio station that's really popular here likes to play a lot of old music. So it's hard to tell, you know, but when I go shopping or if I'm in the store or anything like that, I hear her stuff being played. So I think that it's doing very well. They said it was going to be the record of the summer. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Beyonce
came and lassoed her way through, but
yeah, well, we know that a tour is in the works. You know, that's definitely something that she's going to be announcing soon, because you told me she hasn't announced that yet. So we know that's the next step. So speaking of tours, I want to jump on this J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez subject, because she's been in the news a lot. She put out a movie or / documentary, right? This Is Me Now. And there's also an album of the same name. And the public has released their statements regarding her work and how they feel about her. And, you know, this is pretty abrupt because Jennifer Lopez has been a very well-respected person in the industry, whether it be her movies or music, for quite a while. There are people who have always had reservations, but for the most part, you know, people respected her work. But now we're starting to hear a lot of things about her. Like, people are attacking her vocal talent. They're attacking her personal character, right? Like, they're saying, oh, she's not really from the block, or she's not really as friendly as, or down to earth and humble as she leads on. And I feel like especially TikTok has declared war on Jennifer Lopez. So I want to get your opinion, because I know you've listened to the entire This Is Me Now album. Am I right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this project?
I'm a very loyal person. What can I say? I love Jennifer Lopez. I do. And I know I'm going to get eaten alive for all this, because, like, it sounds like I love everyone. I just have, like, a wide variety of music. Like, I am not a simple-minded capped music. My playlist can, you know, it's anywhere from, like, 80s music to, like, country music to rap to hip-hop or whatever. I love it. If it sounds good to me, it's going to be on my playlist. And I don't care what you think. You know, I'm open-minded when it comes to good music. J-Lo, I take her for what she is. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I love her as an actress. I love some of her older albums, you know, like the ones that we heard growing up, like maybe 20 years ago, where, you know,
I still, Waiting for Tonight is still one of my favorite songs by her. I just love that song.
Yeah, I see, but that was a good era, because then a lot of the female artists didn't have to be grade A singers. They just had to entertain you. And that's what she did. J-Lo entertained you. She is a dancer. She started as a dancer. She was actually a dancer before she was an actress. So it's like, you know, I just think that I don't know. I'm like, this is killing me though, like watching all this hate for Jennifer, because I'm like, I feel like it came out of nowhere.
It did.
And it was because of her new project. I personally am not a fan of the album. I did give it a chance. I did listen to it all. I purchased it from Target. So my money, I bought it. But you know what? I want to see her in concert. I do. I've always wanted to see her in concert, and she never came to Ohio. And she actually was coming to Ohio, and she canceled it because of low ticket sales. Oh. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that she keeps her Orlando date so I can see her. But I don't know. Like, I am such like a sensitive type person. I always feel bad for people. So like, I feel bad that she's getting all this hate. But like, I really don't think she's fazed by it, because, you know, she's got the life. She's glamorous, and she don't care what people think, you know, as long as it makes money. But
we want to believe that, but I think that celebrities really do care what people think. Like, I do. Like, I feel like this is probably hurting her. You know, I think that in an interview I saw about her, she said this was her best project to date. You know, when she was talking about it, she was like, she was the most proud of this that she was doing now.
And those are always the ones that do horrible. If you backdate to like Kelly Clarkson, Christina Aguilera, anytime a celebrity speaks into existence that this is their best work ever, it is the most crappiest work of their career. And it's like, no wonder they have people that they hire that actually have ear and listens, because we are brought by these people like, this is okay, we're introduced to them like, okay, this is them, right? This is their music, their style, this is how they sound. A lot of people do flip the script. They like to play around with different genres and do that. That's fine. That keeps it fresh. It keeps it, you know, good. But here's the thing. Like, when you go, and we'll use Kelly Clarkson as an example. When you go from like Breakaway and, you know, all those other ones, what, Miss Moving On, all that. No, wait, was that, wait, is Miss Moving On Kelly Clarkson, or was that?
No, I think Miss Independent is Kelly Clarkson. Miss Moving On is Fifth Harmony.
Fifth Harmony. Okay, I was getting them all mixed up. But okay, so when you go back and you listen to all of those, you're like, oh, okay, they all have like the same, like, I could hear this on the radio. And then she came out with that like gothic music, and she was all like angry. And I don't even remember what the
single like that. Was. I like that song.
What was the single off of it? I don't even remember what the single was off of it.
I think it was My Life Was Stuck Without You was one of them.
Oh, okay.
But then there was another more gothic type song that I don't remember. But my favorite song off of that more rock gothic album was My Life Is Stuck Without You. But you're right, it was a super different non-pop version.
But that song was different. If you listen to the whole entire album, you could take My Life Would Suck Without You and put it on a greatest hits album, and it would blend in with all of her other music. This album was just like completely left field. And a lot of celebrities were just like, no, I want to do it my way. And it's like, you do it your way. And we're all like, what? What is that? Because, you know, Machine Gun Kelly is my favorite artist. And he's been through a ringer with different types of music genres and everything. And I started liking him when he was rap. You know, from Cleveland, and I liked him when he was rap, and then he went and switched to rock. And I will admit, when I first heard it, I was just taken back. I'm like, what is this? Like, what is it? You're wearing pink, and you are like a rocker now. And it took me like a minute to digest, and then I was like, oh my God, I really like this. So I guess if you're a diehard fan, it's easier to swallow than if you're just like some normal person that's just like, what is this?
Well, yeah, because in my opinion, you know, he's my arch nemesis at times. So in my opinion, I was just like, how do you go from rap to Blink-182? You know, like, it's just, it's different. And I think the shift in the music industry, we're seeing a lot of this now, where artists they're no longer accepting being put in a box. They don't want to just be told to sing one album, one type of music, one type of song. You know, and Pink kind of told this story. A lot of artists did, but I remember back when she first came out, she had an album called Can't Take Me Home, and it was very R&B. And as we know, as we've gotten to know Pink over the last 25 years, you know, that's not only who she is. She has so many different versions of herself. So I have come to accept the fact that MGK isn't doing anything that he's not allowed to do. You know, it's hard to understand, you know, to go from hardcore rap to rock and try to understand, you know, he's both of those people, you know, because we were all taught growing up, you know, if you didn't listen to a certain type of music, you were weird. You know, we had to all fit in with everybody. So I think that the music industry is opening up a lot to letting people be themselves. And like you just said, it's a gamble, right? Like, they're gambling because their fans are used to a certain type of music, a certain sound, a certain lyric. And Jennifer Lopez, for instance, and we're going to get into MGK too, with his latest project with Trippie Redd, you know, putting that out, you're hoping that your fans understand that you've evolved and you've grown and progressed. But sometimes your fans don't want that. Sometimes your fans want exactly what they're used to. And I think with Ariana,
they don't think box, and that's their fault, because you are missing out on a lot of good stuff and a lot of good music. You would not want somebody to try to capsize your life and say what you can and can't do. If you had a job and you were trying to move up the ladder, do you want somebody to be like, no, you know what? You're really good at this, so you should just do this for the rest of your life. Is that fair to you? No, you should be able to grow and learn and produce and see what's really out there. And I just feel like that people just put these celebrities in some type of like weird, I don't know, box or whatever. And they're just so like stuck where they're like, you can't be anything other than this, period.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? If Taylor Swift would have never did that, would she have been the biggest artist that she is now if she didn't dabble into the pop world?
So saying that, we know that Jennifer Lopez started as an actress. She portrayed the late singer Selena, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, she did that, and that opened up her mind to singing." And J Lo stands behind the fact that she's always been a singer, and before she even thought of doing that movie, because we've watched her career as a dancing and Living Color. To I want to say that wasn't she a backup dancer for Janet Jackson at one point? Like, I could be wrong. I might be thinking of the wrong person, but I kind of remember Janet saying that Jennifer Lopez danced for her for a short amount of time. So we were watching her career. I don't remember either. I could be wrong, guys. Don't come.
Her back dancer at one point. She was her choreographer.
Yeah.
I don't know about. I know J-Lo did in Living Color. And
yeah, and in my opinion, acting is her calling.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen her movies. I think that she's so amazing the way that she can portray so many different versions of a woman, right? Like, I've seen her in Enough. I've seen her in Monster-in-Law. I've seen her in so many different movies.
The Cell is really good.
The Cell, yeah.
The mind of a killer. And oh my God, I watched that movie so many times, and I like tricked myself into thinking that the next time I watched it, something different was going to happen. It was
yeah. Those psychological thrillers, they really do. They get into your mind. And I think the talent she has in acting alone is enough to be an accomplished person and be satisfied. Like, a lot of people are saying, just be satisfied. You're an amazing actress. You've done things that women only dream of doing. And then they're like, well, now you keep putting out these albums and, you're trying to sell to us that you're down to earth. And is it okay that she's not? Because she is Jennifer Lopez. If you were walking down the street and you saw Jennifer Lopez, you're not going to just keep walking. You're going to stop and scream, right? So it's just not okay that she's not down to earth. She's an amazing presence to be around. I think a lot of people are trying to say, oh, she's not very nice, and that's such a relative thing to say, because you and I know we have met celebrities before, and people have told us beforehand that they were horrible, mean, nasty, and we had an amazing experience meeting that person. So I think that it's a very relative thing to say. Like, your situation with her wouldn't be the same as everyone's situation with her. So I'm really worried about how they're trying to cancel her, because cancel culture, I don't agree with cancel culture. I believe that we're human. Everybody makes mistakes and everybody does things that you don't want to talk about publicly. Like, a lot of times like Britney Spears doesn't want to talk about 2008, right? Like, there are things that we went through and we've been through that we'd rather not discuss. And I think that they want to cancel Jennifer Lopez, and I'm not exactly sure if it's warranted. I know that some people are saying her old school, middle school, high school, I don't remember which one, asked for a donation when they were restructuring, and they're saying that she said no. And they're saying, oh, well, for someone who has so much money, you should have helped. And you brought up to me, you were like, well, what if she's involved in other charity work? What if she is like, and we don't know. We're just taking at face value what these people are saying to build her character without meeting her or knowing what her financial situation is. And it's like, with celebrities, for some reason, we think we have the right to determine who they are, if they're a good person, without talking to them or asking them questions or giving them an opportunity to, explain themselves. So whether or not she did or didn't give money to the school, does that really make her a bad person? Does it make her a bad character? Because we know she's rich. We don't know who she gives her money to. We don't know if there's like a charity that's really close to her, that it has something to do with her childhood or her upbringing, or
I don't know. I'm probably going to get hate for this. At this point, I don't even care, because I get so mad at the world on how people just don't think about the bigger picture. They always think like, oh, you're rich, whatever. But it's like, I don't care if you're rich or poor, you're a working class citizen, whatever. In the end of the day, you're a human being. And whatever you choose to do with your money is your business. Just because Jennifer Lopez has millions and millions of dollars, she isn't obligated to do anything with that money that she doesn't want to. And it's like, I don't know if I'm just like weird because I think of like things differently. I'm like, if the shoe was on the other foot and you just got paid, you got a raise, you got a bonus. Now all of a sudden people are chasing after you. Well, oh, I see you just got a bonus. Are you going to go donate this to this? Are you going to go give your mom back this money that you owe her? Are you going to? No. You want time to process, maybe pay off some bills, do this, go on vacation, do that. I don't care if they're overprivileged. I don't care whatever the situation is. You can't label somebody if she didn't give to something for some time. She's not bothering nobody for nothing. It's not like she didn't give to a charity, but then she's out there begging. She's not bothering nobody. She's doing her job. She's selling her records. She's doing her tour. She's doing her movies, whatever. And she's earning her money just like the next person. And she doesn't have to broadcast if she gives the money away or not. That's what makes you a good person, when you don't have to broadcast it.
Yeah. And so the tour, like I think you were talking about, so we know that Cleveland and Tampa dates have been canceled due to low ticket sales. So Orlando is still open and there's a whole tour. So we're hoping that she's able to still go out on tour. And I know you haven't ever seen her live, so this would be something that you would love to do. And people are trying to make this her downfall. This is going to be bad for you, because if they make it her downfall, you're not going to be able to see her in concert. So it's like, I don't know why people. And then you know what, you read me a statement from Lizzo yesterday, and Lizzo was talking about how she wanted to quit the music industry because she just feels like they're not welcoming of her, and she's sick of being made fun of and being the butt of every joke and not being appreciated. And I think that, in this culture, in the industry today, we don't give anyone a second chance for anything. And Lizzo was accused, we don't even know if any of it was true, that she was being difficult to work with and she was mean to some employees. And it seems like people have just made a decision about her based on an accusation. And it's like, we really do need to start giving people the benefit of a doubt. Like, I'm not a huge Lizzo fan. I'm not a huge Jennifer Lopez fan either when it comes to her music. Her movies, she's won me over. The music, like I said, Waiting for Tonight it's a bop. It's always going to be a bop to me. I love it, but I could take it or leave it. Lizzo is the same way, but I do think that she had a demographic of women specifically who needed someone to cater to their demographic, to make them feel a part of the industry, a part of the music. And Lizzo put out albums for those people. And I think that canceling her, it's not going to be beneficial to the music industry. She's not everybody's cup of tea. Everybody isn't going to love her. But I think that she was helping a lot of women who might look like her feel represented. Because, in America, if you don't look a certain way, if you don't weigh a certain amount, you're not always represented. You turn on the TV, you turn on commercials, you're not going to always see people that look like you. And hell, let's go back 20 years, Black people weren't always being represented everywhere. So I don't know if canceling Lizzo, canceling J-Lo is this the direction that we want to go in 2024, where we're just telling people, oh, you might have made a mistake. I don't like the mistake you made. So now you can't tour anymore. You can't make music anymore. You can't be a part of the industry anymore. I don't know how beneficial that is as a whole, because let's be real, Jennifer Lopez, when she played that role of Selena, there was a lot of young girls, Beyonce one, who said that they were very inspired seeing Jennifer Lopez in that movie. I think there's a story of where Beyonce saw J-Lo in a mall, or maybe Selena herself in a mall, and she was really inspired. So it's like, canceling people who have made a pretty big contribution to the music industry, and they've put out a positive message and put a positive thought into someone's mind. I don't know how productive that is.
I get really mad because I don't like seeing people down. And the message that Lizzo put out, really affected me, because she has a point. She is like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to like her, that's fine. You don't have to like her. Right. But what you're not going to do is shame somebody, shame their weight. You don't know them from the next person. Who cares if she is impossible to work with? 99.9% of these celebrities are probably impossible to work with. Who cares? You're only giving her a hard time because she loves who she is. She's comfortable with who she is. And she is not some microscopic little Victoria's Secret angel walking the runway. You know, it is what it is. But to make somebody feel that low that they would consider quitting their passion.
Yeah.
Lizzo is more than just a fun artist that puts out fun music. She has a story. Lizzo literally knows how to play the flute. She is like she went to school for that. Like she has like I'm getting upset. Oh my god. Like she has talent. And like I don't like seeing that because it's like the people that are saying it are the ones that are behind their screen. Why is it that every time somebody's mad at somebody, the only thing they could come up with is to attack them in their appearance? Oh, you're fat. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're ugly. Oh, you have big this or small this or whatever.
Yeah.
But notice they didn't say nothing about her music.
Well, no, I mean, honestly, I've heard her music. There's nothing wrong with her music. I think it's, like you said, it's uplifting. It's music to make you feel good about yourself. There's nothing.
It's fun music. If you actually listen to her lyrics, I was like actually generally listening the one day, like to her lyrics. I was listening to it while I was working. And she had this lyric. It was like her one song where she was talking about like her friends or girls and stuff. And she was like, oh, give me your sweater. And then she's like, bless your heart, it's too small. And it was just like, I'm like, what did she just say? It's too small. And it was just so funny. Like she was just like so lighthearted. You know what I mean? But to attack her and make her feel low, she's right. She doesn't do anything to anybody. She keeps her nose clean per se, and she just entertains. She's an entertainer. That's what these people are. Their job is to entertain, to keep us talking. So we'll go and buy their stuff, listen to their music. She's doing her job. You don't know her. Lizzo's not even her real name. Like, how are you going to hate on somebody and you're not even addressing their real government name? Like, I don't know. Let's move on from that because I'm like literally getting mad. I'm going to put out a PSA in 2 seconds. Like,
well,
like, that's too much for me.
Well, I want to move on to Cowboy Carter because unless you live under a rock, you know that Beyonce has released an album which everyone thinks is going to be monumental, a huge legendary album. And let's be real. I was talking to you about this yesterday. She worked with a lot of people on this album and she somehow kept it all under wraps. Nobody leaked anything. We didn't know about her song with Dolly Parton, Miley Cyrus. What was the girl's name? The Buckle Bunny girl song she worked with?
Hannah Adele. And if you
Hannah
don't
Adele.
know,
I'm obsessed with her, right? I'm obsessed with her. I like her. So
she's a bunny.
I want to get your opinion on Cowboy Carter because Beyonce herself said this is not a country album. This is a Beyonce album. And I've heard the album, you've heard the album, and I want to get your opinion on that statement. Do you think that she's right? This isn't a country album. Do you hear country in it? Or do you think that this is just a different way for Beyonce to express herself and you can interpret it any way you want?
First of all, this album is a masterpiece. And I'm going to go ahead and agree with Beyonce that this might be the best work she's ever put out. And really? I loved all her albums. But here's another thing for all the people hating on the Queen Bee herself. She has always dabbled in country, but people don't pay attention. On her Lemonade album, she had a song where she used the music from like the Louisiana French Quarters, like the horns and everything that they use. That was the Lemonade album. She dabbled. And she performed with the Dixie Chicks, now Chicks. She performed with them, that song at the Country Awards one year.
I didn't know about that. And
she also says in a lot of her songs that Houston raised, Texas raised, like she's always prepped her city. She's freaking from Texas, y'all. Like she's so country. Like she had every right. Now, I know that country music has always seemed to be limited to the white America. Like, let's be honest. Like, when you think country music, you think of like cowboy hats, belt loose, you know, like the country music, whatever. My grandpa, he was from Arkansas. He loved himself some good old country, like the, you know, all the old school country artists and everything. And you know what? They're amazing. They are. All the people that are in country music, they paved the way for each other. But it doesn't mean that it has to be limited to one solid race. Look at all the Black artists that have come over and dabbled into the country world. Like we said, Tanner, Darius Ruckus from Hootie and the Blowfish.
Oh, Darius Rucker, yeah.
Rucker. Yeah, he literally.
Oh, and Kane Brown. Kane Brown is one of my favorites.
Kane Brown, yeah. And their music is so good. It's so good. And when you're listening to it, you're not like, wow, that's a good Black artist or that's a good white artist. You're like, no, that's a good song. That's this, that's that. I really like the way that sounds. But everybody always has to paint labels with race and what belongs what. Like, oh, she should just do R&B. No, she should do what makes herself feel good. And she should put out music that people are going to like. Because if it sounds good, they're going to like it. And her album has gotten amazing feedback, even from the country world.
Well, I don't know if I feel like her album sounds that country to me. So it's interesting because I know everyone's like, oh, this is a country album. And I mean, it has country aspects. But like you said, it has Beyonce traits in it. You know, I hear a lot of her style, a lot of her singing and lyrics. So I don't know if it's like country for me. Like when I hear country music and then I heard her album, the Cowboy Carter album, I don't know if I would link it into, like you said, into the country category. I think that it has a lot of inspiration from country,
she was probably like, if you could make up a genre, she would probably be like country with a twist. She would have country with like a side of like that R&B hip hop vibe, like Tanner, like where it has like kind of like the beat of like a hip hop song, but then it also still has the country twang.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it's a lot of R&B mixed with country. And, you know, I think that this music, I got a lot of like Take You to Church from some of the tracks too. And, you know, country music, a lot of people say country music came from church singers, right? Just like R&B. So that makes a lot of sense to me because the people who are singing R&B and country, they started out usually singing in the church. You know, so I was like, I get a lot of like Take You to Church from the music as well. And it's interesting, you said you think this is her best work ever because she's put out a lot of different albums and there's a lot of different sounds. Because remember, she put out that album and it was a lot of dance music. Which album was that?
You mean the Act One?
Yeah, Act One. It was a lot of dance music and she dabbled in like kind of like club music. And then she's done like the album with Halo on it. And then we've heard a lot of different sounds. So the fact that you think this is the best out of all of those, it says a lot, you know, because Beyonce has dabbled in a lot of different sounds, you know, because she's worked with The Dream on some music. She's worked with different producers, different writers. And the sound, it always sounds like her, you know, like even when I heard 16 Carriages, I knew it was her. You know, it's not like she's changed the way she sings or her style. It's still there. And I think it's really interesting that she's able to, no matter what she's singing or the type of style of music she's singing, you still know it's her. And I think that shows a lot of staying power for her. You know, I feel like she's been in the industry a really long time. She's, our iHeartRadio is going to give her the Innovator Award because this is a big deal. You know, the Innovator Award is for someone who has taken their career and they've innovated, they've changed, they've evolved, they've grown. And I think that doing this country-ish album, it really shows that she's multifaceted, she's multi-talented. But I want to say one thing. A lot of other people have done this before and it didn't go well. So I want to ask you this question. K. Michelle, for instance, what did Beyonce do differently? Because a lot of artists have tried to go from one genre to another and it didn't always go as smoothly as this transition. So what do you think Beyonce did that made her outcome different from other artists?
I think Beyonce is a bad example because I feel like she's so far in her career where she is on a status level that she can basically do no wrong. She's going to have a really, really hardcore fan base. So I feel like people are more open to following her in her career. I think that it's more fair to say people that, like when Taylor Swift first did it, went from country to pop, or Machine Gun Kelly when he went from, rap to rock, or who else was like a person who switched complete genres on us? Pink, like you said, she went from R&B to rock. I think that what they did, which would probably answer your question to Beyonce, but me personally, I feel like she's in her own category. That I saw an interview with Tanner Adele, and she had said, you know what, I was kicking and punching at the doors at the country music trying to be heard. And she said Beyonce came and opened the door. She didn't have to kick or push anybody. She just was welcome. And the ones that she wasn't welcomed, the other people were so loud in the background that it really quieted the haters. So I think that the people that switch put everything behind their work. I think that when they show you that, hey, I'm multifaceted, I can do different things. I can sing, I can dance, I can act, I can rap, I can whatever. I think that they believe in themselves and they believe in the project, and they really take the time to work hard on the album to try to find things that people will like, that people will find relatable. And I think that that's how they're able. And I think it also doesn't hurt that they grasp themselves a following, that they brought it along with them.
Yeah.
You had said the word K. Michelle. Now, K. Michelle was never really out there. To this day, you either know her or you don't.
Yeah.
She was an R&B singer. She decided to turn country. She was on, Love and Hip Hop. And it's like, if you didn't follow that world or that genre, you might not have heard her name. And it doesn't mean that she's not talented. It doesn't mean that she can't sing or, whatever. It's just she didn't have the following that all these other artists that we had mentioned had.
See, I understand that, but when Taylor Swift did the transition from country to pop, her following wasn't as big as she has now. I think Taylor Swift really did the most smooth transition that we've ever seen.
Kanye helped a lot.
Yeah, right. Kanye helped a lot because a lot of people who are fans of Kanye obviously didn't know who Taylor Swift was. And him inserting himself in, that situation and stopping her from receiving her award, that opened up a lot of hip hop people's eyes to Taylor Swift, or R&B people who didn't listen to her. Her country career had a pretty mediocre opening. Like, let's be real. She did good, but she did not do amazing. And then when she did that crossover, she's in a league of her own. It's Beyonce and Taylor Swift. They're the leaders of the free world, right? Like they're running the free world. So I think that for K. Michelle, you're right. She didn't have enough of a following to bring with her, and maybe the following she had wasn't as open-minded. For people who have been listening to R&B and hip hop their whole life, they might not be 100% open-minded. Because let's go into the people who want to say that it's cultural appropriation for you to dabble in another genre, because they think that it's impossible for you to be the wrong color and sing country, or to be the wrong color and do rap. There's people who are very closed-minded and think that you're supposed to remain in your box, in your lane, and maybe the following that people had when they tried it, that was closer to who their following was. They're like, oh no, you're a Black woman, you should be singing R&B music. This is not who you are. And I hate that people are still thinking that way. And I really, really hope that this transition that Beyonce has shown us is going to open up people's eyes and minds to people trying and doing different things. Because let's be realistic, singers are amazing singers no matter what. My vocal coach used to teach me, if you're a good singer, you can sing the phone book and you'll sound amazing. So why are we telling good singers that they only can sing one type of music? It's just insane. So I really hope that Beyonce's transition into country or opening that door to any genre that she wants. Because let's be real, Beyonce can put out a rock song and we will still listen to it, right? Like whatever she wants to do, we're in her world. We're just there for the ride. So I really hope that people are going to be more open to letting people express themselves in the way that they want to express themselves. Like I know that we've gotten to the point where we are accepting of people's sexuality and gender and orientation. We're letting people be who they are. And I think the music industry is slow to the punch, right? The music industry is far behind. And I think that Taylor Swift and Beyonce have shown us that it's okay, 100% okay, and it should be preferred that people be exactly who they want to be because that's where they're going to showcase their best work.
And if you truly love the artist like you say you do, you'll support them in their career and you'll be open-minded to different things and different music because guess what? If you're a rap fan and you decide that you like that one country song, there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make you a weirdo because you decided to open your ears and extend your sense of like listening to different types of music. That just makes you an open-minded person that's intelligent because you know that you can't be labeled. You like stuff because of how it sounds, not because what you're told. So just remember that. I think that it's something to think about. Give it a chance. Don't just say, oh, I'm not going to listen to this person because they're primary this or primarily that. Give it a chance because music is the key to our soul. It's what gets us through a lot of stuff. And you never know. And I think Beyonce might have opened the door for K. Michelle to maybe try and be successful this time. Because she's the voice that kind of said, hey, let the people try. Like if they're good, they're good. So maybe now we'll hear more from K. Michelle because of Beyonce.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that Beyonce has been a trailblazer in every sense of the word. And I'm excited to see her accept the Innovator Award and hopefully she'll bless us with a song at the iHeartRadio Awards. You know, we want to see her perform these new songs. There's a lot of lyric videos. There's no is there any official videos from her new album? I haven't seen anything but lyric videos.
I haven't seen any music videos yet, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. I'm sometimes behind when it comes to music videos because they're not in my face like they used to be on MTV and stuff. Yeah. So I have to remember to go back and look for them.
She used to treat us with visual albums too. So we're kind of spoiled, right? When we get new music. Yeah, maybe we'll get a visual too because she likes to express herself vocally and visually. So maybe in the future we'll get a visual album. And obviously this tour is going to be insane. I feel sorry for anyone who's trying to go somewhere other than her concert while her concert is going on. It's going to be very difficult. But I want to talk about Gypsy Rose Anderson / Blanchard because it's going back to Blanchard because there's been some news with her. So we know that she got rid of her social media accounts, which some people say that that's a good idea because her transition back into the world and the way that she was conducting herself online was making it difficult because a lot of people were really upset with her behavior, which that's a whole nother thing. We're not going to get into that because if she did her time, if she wants to go out and live her life, that's one thing. But now we're hearing, now that she's gotten rid of her social media, she is separated from her husband, Ryan Anderson, just 3 short months since her release. And I was wondering what went wrong because, she told us that it was the D was amazing. She was loving it. He was an amazing husband. She was happy. Last we heard from Gypsy, to be honest, was she was going to try to have a baby. So now the next thing that we hear is that she's not with her husband and she's moved back with her family in the Bayou in Louisiana. So I wanted to get your reaction on that because she does have another documentary coming as well that I saw a preview or a poster or promo for. So what do you think is going on in that relationship? Do you think it was the social media? Some people think since her relationship was all over social media and everything was just everywhere for everyone to judge, that would be the downfall of the relationship. Do you think that's what it was?
People kept saying that he looked like her mother. So
yeah,
got wind of that. But I guess maybe I was one of the only ones that saw that coming. I'm not surprised that she's getting divorced. She lived so much of her life as a prisoner. not just incarcerated, but she was a prisoner to her mother.
Yeah.
She was forced to have every disease that her mom could come up with or spell. You know what I mean? And then she helps commit a heinous crime. She goes to jail. She does her time. But then the rest of her younger years are spent being a prisoner. So she finally comes out and gets a taste of freedom. She gets a taste of what it's like to do whatever her heart desires. Yeah. Go wherever she is, being told nothing. Like she could just go shop, go on a cruise, read a book, whatever she wants to do. Do you really, truly, honestly believe, and this is even watching a bunch of like jail shows and everything, that the people stick with the people that they met while incarcerated? No, they wanted a pen pal. They wanted somebody because they were lonely. They wanted companionship because they had no one to talk to. Gypsy got out and she's like, okay, this is what I want. I want to marry him. She was never happy. That's not what she wanted, because even in her first documentary, she admitted that she was still like in love with the one guy whose engagement fell through. And he didn't look anything like the guy she ended up with, okay? I honestly, just my opinion, think that it was a classic case of just wanting that companionship, thinking that that's what was best for her, because she probably thought that people were already going to feel some type of way about her. She came out and she was a married woman, that maybe people would look at her differently. And she probably came to the realization that I'm not happy. I'm still young. I have the rest of my life to actually live for me. I want to be happy. And maybe he was controlling. Maybe it was reminding her of her mom,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, anything could have happened, but I'm not surprised. And Gypsy is not a celebrity. Gypsy is a girl who had a horrible upbringing, that went to jail for a crime she committed. And just like anybody else that committed a crime, America glorified.
Yeah.
But she is not a celebrity.
You're right. You're right. I think that's a reason why she had to leave social media, because they were treating her like a celebrity and she was being judged like she was a celebrity. If she was out having a good time, enjoying herself, or things that she's entitled to do, people were not allowing her to do that. You know how we are with celebrities. If we see a celebrity doing something, we don't like it, we judge them and we say that they shouldn't be doing it. And I think that social media was the last thing that she should have been a part of, coming out of prison, and I think that, going from a controlled life.
She could have had it. She should have kept it private.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's okay to communicate with friends and family, but now that she has like almost 10 million followers, it's become something. Well, I not anymore. The page is gone, but it's become something in itself. It can't be controlled. You can't post anything. Every post was getting 500,000 likes. There's hundreds and thousands of comments. And it's hard to ignore what people think of you. I think you said celebrities don't care what people think of them, or people don't care. We do. Deep down, we do. Like, I always go through comments and I'll find the one negative one and I'll focus on it. And it's something that as humans, we don't know how to block out. We want to know why that one person thinks that we're terrible. You'll get a bunch of comments. Everybody thinks you're amazing. But you're like, well, why do you think I'm terrible? Everybody else thinks I'm okay. And then we focus on that. So I think getting rid of social media is a good thing for her. And I think focusing on her life, like you said, and finding out what it's like to be a free woman. She's only been a free woman for 3 months. Let that sink in. Her whole life, her whole existence on this planet, 3 months, she's been free to make her own decisions. And I think being in a marriage is kind of a controlling aspect of your life, because you can't do what you want, go where you want, say what you want without consulting with the other person. So I think in actuality, she needs to spend at least a couple of years just being the boss of herself, right? Like, she should just be the boss of herself. And then if she's ready to add a person, a man, a child, whatever, into her life, maybe she'll be ready then. But I think it's important that she just makes her own choices, her own decisions, and see what life is like just being Gypsy Rose's boss. You know, like nobody else should be in control of what she's doing.
She's just a human to me. So I don't really care what she decides to do as long as she's happy.
So I want to ask, well, we're almost out of time, but in a little time we have left, I want to talk about Quiet on the Set, because we were learning about the Nickelodeon documentary, and we know that Drake Bell has finally come forward regarding what happened to him at the hands of a what was he, a producer on one of the TV shows, well, on many TV shows on Nickelodeon. And then we're opening up our eyes to like all this corruption going on, and no one's protecting these children. And then they showed us scenes from the shows, right? Like I didn't watch Zoe 101s. I didn't know. I did watch like Victorious, I thought, but when they were showing these scenes, it was so blatant what was going on. Like these children were being exploited. They were in adult situations, and it was disturbing. And you know, watching this documentary, it really, a lot of people are saying, well, now my whole childhood is ruined. I didn't even realize what was happening in front of our face. And like, how do you feel about the fact that this was going on? Children's programming, this was going on, and it was kind of like right under everyone's noses, you know, and people's children were watching, not just watching the shows, but being a part of the shows. And then the things happening on these sets. And how would you feel if you had a child who wanted to enter into the child acting world? Like, how does watching this documentary shape your decision making from now on?
Well, first, I would just say that I feel like this whole thing is horrible. And I think what's even worse is that it's been so many years, and it's like slowly more and more and more people are coming out. So it's almost like every single person, something happened to them, and they were either, you know, hushed, or, you know, they just choose to not come forward or whatever. And I just think that it's horrible that it took this long for them to get their story out and to punish the ones that need to be punished. If I had a child that wanted to get into the acting world, I think that before any of this came to light, I probably would be like anybody else. I probably would have been like excited by it, you know, like who doesn't want the glitz, the glamour, the fashion, the money, you know, whatever. But if you look at what it does to these children long term, it's really not worth it. I mean, a lot of the people that are on here now, like Ariana Grande, she seems to be fine. You know, Victoria Justice, she seems to be fine. But like, if we look at even backdating to like Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, we should have took it as a red flag when men had pages with countdowns to them turning 18.
Yes.
They were literally glorifying them and trying to sexualize these children when they were like little girls. That should have been a red flag to the world then. And I just think that, like, look what it did to all these people. Look what it did to Amanda Bynes. I met Amanda Bynes. She was literally the sweetest person in the whole world. And I look at her videos now, and she's like talking to people, and she just looks so lost. It's like you can like see past her whole soul. It's just something doesn't sit right. And it's just, it hurts. It hurts because it's like there was so much damage done because of greed, because of people wanting to like put their children into the show business and all that. And it's like, look at all of the detrimental that it has caused.
Yeah.
And like, it makes you wonder, where were the parents? How did these people end up hurting these children? How far away were the parents? What were they doing? Were they not allowed in certain places? Were they out living their best lives? Because like, I saw that Alana, which is Honey Boo Boo, her mom stole all her money.
Yeah, that is coming out now. You're right. You're right.
She stole all her money. So she was a child star. She did all the pageants. She did Dancing with the Stars. She did her Honey Boo Boo show and all that. And her mom was supposed to put money in that one account, Cougar account, I think. Cougar. think it's called a Cougar account for children until they turn 18, and then they get it. And then the mom was saying that she was putting in more than she was, and she wasn't. She was only putting in like a smaller percentage. And then not only was she spending it, she went back and spent that as well. And then she was like, oh, well, it was for the family. It was for our vacations. And then she was like, that's my money. So I could go to college, so I could have a better life. And I'm paying for the family to go on vacation. Like, you know, like, that's not fair, you know, like it was to support her drug habit.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what makes you wonder, like, how many of the parents was like June and how many were actually innocent bystanders that just didn't know that their children were being harmed.
Yeah. This documentary has really raised that question, you know, because we watched Drake Bell's dad. He was a part of it. And he was just like, oh, well, you know, I noticed things were a little weird with him. So I tried to, you know, get him out of my son's life, but he still managed to do all these things to Drake. So it's like, you have to be that security guard for your child. You know, you can't just trust that people are looking out for your child. You have to be that person.
I don't want to say this, but I'm going to. I think that some of the parents might have been afraid of ruffling the feathers and getting their child terminated.
Yeah.
And they were more worried about the money stopping than actually worried about the well-being. And I hate to say that, but there in that documentary, there was a mother. Her child was only on maybe one season of all that. And she was one of those mothers that was very like mother bear. She was very overprotective. You know, I'm not letting you out of my sight. And she was watching some of the skits and some of the stuff. Like there was this one that you could tell they were really mistreating him. Like they had him in nothing. Now he's a child. Remember this. Nothing but his boxers. Covered him in peanut butter. And had like, I think it was like a dog lick him.
Wow.
And then they had another one where they were playing like rappers. And since like rappers are like little whoever, he was like little fetus. And he was a black child. So they were like, oh no, he needs to be darker. And they wanted him to be like pitch black. And he was like crying and stuff because he was just like, okay, you're deliberately being racist to me. Yeah. And mom was just like, no. And she stood up and she said something. And of course, he made it one season. And do you know that that kid stopped talking to his mother because she got him terminated from that show?
That's terrible. She saved him from a lot more abuse. And he should have saw the abuse that was going on. And I know that being on TV, because we were watching Drake talk about it, he's like, it's my dream. I want this more than anything. And you said about ruffling feathers. We have to create an environment where you're allowed to speak up for yourself if something is happening to you and people aren't afraid of repercussions. We have to, especially when there's children, you don't have the right to mistreat a person's child and then threaten them or fire them for speaking up. You know, and I think that these networks created an environment where people were allowed to exploit these children. And, you know, whether it be the parents were helping or not helping or unaware, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't have never been an environment where this could have taken place.
I think that a lot of this is Nickelodeon's fault because if there's truth to everything that was told, which had to be because the guy who was like the producer behind all the major shows, he came out recently and apologized for his behavior. You can apologize for something unless you do it.
Yeah.
He admitted that he had did a lot of things that he wasn't proud of. And they interviewed some of his past coworkers. There was 2 women, and he had said to them deliberately that he does not find women to be funny and that he would hire them, but they had to share an income. So if they made $50,000, then they would get $25,000 each. Meanwhile, the rest of the staff was men. They were getting the regular salaries. Not only did they do it because they wanted the big break? They wanted, fresh out of college. They wanted, this was, their dream job. They put up with abuse. He would ask the women to come and give him like neck massages and back rubs. And he would talk down on them. And he would just literally, like, he was a horrible person. Why at that point in time wasn't something done before children were even brought into the mix? Why did Nickelodeon? I grew up watching Nickelodeon, okay? I watched all this. Why were you so pressed on being number one or a competitor with Disney and being number one, and you let this stuff happen behind closed doors?
Yeah. There's no way.
You're right. Never thought it was going to come to light. It's like you never thought that anything was ever going to be said or done. He was a horrible person to work for. He literally was doing all this stuff illegally, and you didn't want to fire him because he was a moneymaker, because all his shows were blowing up.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They were fully aware, but he was winning awards and his shows were getting the views and the money, and they looked past what was going on. And I think you're right. The network in itself is greedy, and they put these children at risk, and they're fully responsible, for what happened to these kids. These are children. They need to be protected. And if you're making content for children, you're using children to make content, there needs to be laws in place, and you need to make sure that they're being protected. Because after this situation with Drake Bell and the guy was arrested and everything, he worked again in Hollywood on sets with children. And, we have to realize that the networks knew. You can't tell me that they didn't do a background check and they didn't know, or they just didn't care. When it comes to money in Hollywood, we know that things tend to go by the wayside when it comes to the amount of money you can bring in for a project. People overlook things. But I think when it comes to children, you have to be a little more protective. Adults is one thing. Adults have the mindset and decision-making skills that children don't. So as an adult, adults can say, hey, I don't like this environment. I don't like this. I'm going to remove myself. Children don't necessarily have that. Somebody sometimes need to make that decision for them. So I think you're right. These networks need to be held accountable. And so far, other than them issuing an apology or denying things, no one's being held accountable for anything, right? Like some networks have apologized. Some networks said that it's not true. They either don't care or they feel like, well, that was in the past. We're going to keep moving forward. We need to be going back and figuring out who was doing what and making sure that people are held accountable, and a lot of times we're watching these stories where the statute of limitations are running out and now we're hearing about it and now these people get to go free. And, that baffles me as well. Why do we want people who did really terrible things to walk free when, you could speak up? And I know speaking up is difficult. Don't get me wrong. I watched Drake really struggle in this documentary to tell his story. This was, you could tell, a very traumatic situation for him. When they asked him what happened, he didn't have it in him to tell us what happened. They had to read off the court documents just so we could get an idea of what happened. He could not speak the words. That's how bad it was for him at that young age. He doesn't want to go back to that point. So we really need to make sure that people are being held accountable. And I really don't like when I see these stories where, oh, the statute of limitations is over, so now I'm going to speak up. Speak up now. Make sure that you're getting the justice that you deserve.
Exactly. And it's like, I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't really speak about something that I don't know. But I just wish that the kids had the strength at the time to have told somebody instead of worrying about upsetting someone or worrying about getting fired or worrying about not being popular. Because in the end, none of them are happy. That's why a lot of these child actors end up on this like horrible downward spiral where they get into drugs and alcohol and stuff because they just didn't get a chance to live a normal life. They didn't get a chance and they're just trying to like numb the pain. It's like, you can't tell me that you're happy. You can't tell me that you're happy with choices that you had made at the time. And it's just like, I feel bad for them because somewhere they felt like they couldn't speak up.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They felt that
They have
speaking up.
anybody in their life that they trusted enough that they could just say, "Hey, someone's hurting me," and that's sad. That's really sad.
Yeah, it is. Every child should have a person that they feel comfortable talking to. And like on these sets, there should be somebody on the set that their job is like a psychiatrist or some sort of doctor where they can talk to the children without judgment. And there should be an environment where children aren't afraid to speak up. Like you said, imagine being 8 or 9 years old and you're worried about getting fired from your job. That is unfathomable to me because at 8 or 9 years old, you shouldn't be working. Like, so it's unfathomable to me that a child is worried about getting fired from their job at such a young age. That is such an adult problem. So the fact that they're scared to speak up because they're like, well, I don't want to get fired. I want to keep my job. Like, you're a child. First of all, you should be able to speak up and say whatever you want, regardless. Because first of all, you shouldn't even be working. And if you are being employed, there should be so many different things in place to protect you and to make sure that you're being taken care of. Because, in most states at that age, you can't work. And the entertainment industry is one of the only industries where there's an exception to the minimum working requirement age. Just the entertainment industry. You could never put a 9 or 10-year-old on a assembly line to work. That's illegal. But you can put them on a set to film a TV show, and I can't imagine why it's any different, right? Why is it any different?
It's not. It really isn't. This world is just like, we're so taken back by like one bad thing after another. Now we're the news with Diddy, and that's crazy. It's like, but I had spoke about that before on my feelings on your last podcast, that I feel like this is kind of karma coming back to bite him in the behind for some of his past actions. So I stand by that. That's my own personal opinion, and I'm sorry, but I'm gonna stand by it. I just feel like this is karma coming back and hunting him for maybe past things that he might have been associated with. And you had mentioned at the top of the hour of the podcast, Kate Middleton. The only thing that I'm gonna say about her is that something isn't sitting right with me. I feel like the family is hiding something bigger. I almost feel like this could be a Princess Diana situation. I think that if she really does have cancer, then all the prayers in the world, and I hope that she's better because she's a mother, and her children need her. But I am so corrupted by all the things that are happening in the world that I can't help but to think that there's something more to this than what it is. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I just feel like there has always been something off with the royal family. They did not take very well to Diana. And, unfortunately, her life was cut very short. And, I feel like there's a lot of infidelity in their family amongst the men. Charles and speculation, I think William. I think that Harry and Meghan are the only like non-problematical ones, and that's because they decided to kind of part from the royal family and kind of like just do them. And I haven't really heard anything about them, other than they're upset that they decided to go their own way. But that more power to them, because at least they can stay out of that mess. But I just feel like there's just something not sitting right. And a lot of people said that, they had showed a picture of Kate when she was missing, and it was photoshopped. Like, why would you show a Photoshop picture?
Yeah, well,
to satisfy people.
I also heard that there was like a look-alike person that was they were using for photos. Like it was someone who kind of looks like her, and then they'll take it from like a far away distance. So it looked like it was like a paparazzi type photo of her, but like when they examined the photo more, it wasn't even her. It was someone that kind of looked, similar to her, which was really strange in itself, right? But the fact that they said she was missing and they weren't seeing her leave. I mean, let's be realistic. In the palace, there's like a full staff. You don't have to go to the grocery store. Like these aren't regular people, right? Like we go to the grocery store, we go to the gas station. You don't have to do those things. So it's not uncommon to not see someone for a week or so when they live that type of lifestyle. But it is uncommon that no one spoke or gave any explanation as to where they were, because they do have civic duties. They're civil servants, and they do things like public speaking. They go and volunteer work. They do have civic duties, and she was missing event after event after event. And it's really weird that the palace wouldn't just release a statement and say, hey, she's not feeling well, she's not going to be on her civic duties or whatever. It's really, like you said, why not just say what's going on instead of letting the world assume she was missing for weeks? It's really strange. The whole situation.
Shopped picture of her, and then she's wearing the same sweater every time they see her. It's like a striped sweater. She was like wearing that in the photoshopped picture, and then she was wearing the same sweater when she came out and said that she had or whatever. Like, it's just weird. Like, the whole situation is weird. And I mean, we don't have to get into like conspiracy theories of it, because there's a lot of that going around. It's just overall, I have just always felt, because that family has so much power, there's a lot of stuff that they can hide in their closet that probably won't see the light of day. And there's just something about this situation, like I said, that isn't sitting right. And I hope that Kate is okay. I really do.
At the end of the day, we want her to be fine. And we don't want anything to have happened to her and then we not know, or they try to cover it up, because her babies need her. Like you said, like if we're just being human about it, her children need her. The country or where she lived, who cares? But her family needs her. And I think that's more important, and I know that, like you said, that family, when you have that much money and that much power, there's not much you can't do. So it's a tread light situation. So we're hoping that everything is fine with Kate. We've run out of time. So next episode, obviously this Diddy saga, we have to spend a lot more time on. So we're not even going to try to get into that today. We're going to wait until the next episode number 10. But like I said, I knew this was going to be a long episode. There's just so much going on. We still didn't get to a third of what we were supposed to talk about today. So we're going to be doing another episode really soon. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to my co-host, Heather C. Make sure you're following her on all social media platforms. She also has a page called Heather's Daily Finds. You need to follow that one too. She has a lot of good information on where you can get the best items. So if you're a shopper, you definitely need to follow that page. Make sure you're following me on all social media platforms at George Mossey, georgemossey.com. Anywhere you get your podcast, type in the George Mossey Show on streaming services. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thanks, Heather, and we'll talk to all of you guys really soon.
Bye.